An algorithm can curate your life and even text your spouse, but it can't keep a promise when the power goes out. Today, we stop performing for the machine and start leading with the soul. Hey, everybody! Yes, welcome to the Jason Hewlett Show. We're talking faith, family, fatherhood.
I want to be around my kids.
Freedom, fitness,
Sweating.
funny,
Do I look better?
and farce.
They're like,
Valentine's gift won't save your relationship. Love is about presents first. The people in your life don't want your performance. They want your promise. And the most expensive thing you own in roses, chocolate. Trust isn't built with diamonds. It's built by taking the trash out.
oh boy.
Yeah. Can we just show love all the time? Can it be Valentine's Day every day? That's fine. The calendar isn't reminding you. So the February check-in is this. Prove to yourself that your word still matters. Welcome to the show. Every time I see the intro, it's hilarious to me watching it because I've never seen it. I have an incredible team behind the scenes that make this possible. And so welcome to the Jason Hewlett Show. Yes, we're talking about a lot of F words, everything from faith to freedom to family. And today we're going to talk about everyday influencers. We're going to talk about how you can't algorithm your character. Oh, and Andrew was arrested. We'll talk about what that means. It's kind of the final broken promise, really. We'll get into Jason's variety house, if you will. And I'm going to tell you about how I tore my jaw. Yeah, I actually tore my jaw. And that happened 2.5 months ago. And in health and fitness, brought to you by Cardio Miracle, our sponsor of the show. It's International Heart Valve Day, and we're talking about the heart symptom you're ignoring. So thank you for joining us. Let's jump in.
I spent an hour scrolling through leadership gurus today. Their metrics are massive, but I don't feel better. I just feel small.
Metrics are just noise, Phil. You're looking for a spotlight when you should be looking for a mirror. Real influence doesn't broadcast.
Jason's talking about a study where 63% of people have a hero they've never thanked. I'm definitely part of that statistic right now.
My daughters don't care about my followers. They care if I'm home at 5. Influence is a choice you make when nobody is watching.
It's about being a participant, not a historian. Jason, what's the promise we're breaking when we trade our presence for a social media post?
Yes, thank you to Doug and Phil for introducing this segment. My question for you is, are you an influencer? And if so, are you an everyday influencer? And have you ever heard of everyday influencer? I'd like you to meet my friend, Jeff Savilico. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of Jeff, one of my best buddies. Yeah, Jeff Savilico is one of the greatest entertainers that the world has ever seen. If you haven't heard of him, that's okay. He was doing a show on the Strip in Las Vegas for, I would say, 10 years. And he was one of the most important acts in the city, as well as one of the most influential philanthropists in the entire country, all at the same time as being an award-winning, family-friendly entertainer in Las Vegas. That's Jeff Savilico. He's one of my best friends. Today, he actually released something that completely blew my mind, and I had to put it in as the very first part of this show. I'd like to welcome everybody from around the world that is watching as we're slowly getting more of an audience who's watching and seeing that this is a live show. It will be obviously repackaged into being my podcast, and so you can find these episodes there. This is episode 5, by the way. We've been going live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time ever since January, and so thank you for being here. But on February 19th today, 2026, the press release went out. I'm going to read it to you because it's so good. Entertainer turned keynote speaker philanthropist Jeff Savilico today announced the release of The Hidden Power of Everyday Influence, a national research report based on findings from his first of its kind study, The State of Everyday Influence in America Today. The report uncovers who truly shapes our lives and why most Americans drastically underestimate the influence they already have. So I'm going to give my spin on this while I'm reading this press release to you. And equally, I hope that you'll be thinking about how you have the opportunity to be that kind of influencer we're talking about, because I know that if you're taking the time to listen to this, you are an influencer. You have made a difference in people's lives. And so often, because of the way that we couch what an influencer is nowadays, we're thinking to ourselves, oh, it's got to be somebody with all these followers, right? Well, this is what this study proves. It's very cool. At a time when follower counts and visibility often overshadow authenticity and human connection, Civilico's research reveals a striking disconnect between what society celebrates and what actually creates meaningful change. Let me pull up the look of this report. Here's the report. That's how it looks for those that are watching. While digital platforms dominate cultural attention, 65% of Americans say social media has made it harder to be a positive everyday influencer. The study finds that real influence most often shows up through proximity, consistency, and presence within families, workplaces, and communities. Why am I smiling? Because this is exactly what we talk about on this show every single week. The promise to be present, the promise to the family. I love it. I'll read it one more time. The study finds that real influence most often shows up through proximity, consistency, and presence within families, workplaces, and local communities. I love it. That makes me happy. Let's keep going. This study examines perceptions, behaviors, and real-world impact across generations and industries, combining national data with real-world stories and practical frameworks. Together, these insights offer individuals, leaders, and organizations a roadmap for activating everyday influence with greater intention and purpose. Wow, I love it. The study shows that people overwhelmingly credit, ready, the greatest influences in their lives not to be celebrities or executives. Whoa. But to those closest to them, yeah. Family and upbringing ranked as the highest source of influence among respondents, while social media personalities ranked near the bottom, even among Gen Z. I'm surprised by that. Yet many people struggle to see themselves as influential. So the first data point, 80% of Americans say someone has positively influenced them in a way that has forever changed their life. I mean, if you've heard me speak, and I speak at events all over the world, I can't do an event without speaking about this influential person whom most of you have no idea who this is. This is Mrs. Hall, who discovered that I could sing when I was in high school. She changed my life. I talk about her at every single event. And this was somebody who changed my life in such a dramatic way. I'm so thankful for her. Without her, I wouldn't be doing performance. Without her, I wouldn't have discovered my gifts. She helped me clarify what I have yet to identify so I can magnify my promise to the world. Another one who influenced me that you do not know, most likely, his name is Chris Paulus. He's the guy in the middle right here. Chris Paulus and Coach Tony Ingle. Both of these guys, let's get out of the light. There we go. Both of these guys, Coach Tony Ingle and Chris Paulus, changed my life. I talk about them all that I can. And even though both of these men have passed, I keep their photo on my desk at all times to ask them what I should do. They're my great life mentors, equally my parents, as well as now my wife, after the last 25 years of being luckily married to the most wonderful woman on earth. And then my children have also become mentors for me. Here's the real kicker, though, in the study that I liked about this. It said 63% say there is someone in their life who's been a great positive everyday influence and they've never let them know. That's what I wanted to talk about. We need to get here. My friends, have you told the influencer in your life how they have impacted you? And if not, today is the day. As you're listening to or watching this, whether live or on the replay, it is time right now, right this second, to text, call, email that person, even if you got to turn away from what I'm talking about in order to have the inertia, the momentum, and the feeling to say, I got to call them right now and say thank you, or make a post about them. Do something. Do not delay. This very well could lift that person's life who has changed yours because you never told them or you haven't told them enough. And yeah, the most influential person in your life maybe already passed away and you can't tell them. Okay, so instead, what could you do? Here's the next best things. 1, post a story, write a blog, put it on social media, add a photo, share the inspiration of that person, that everyday influencer who did this for you. If you'll do this, that will help you feel like you can continue on carrying the story, right? Because now their influence is exponential through you. The other idea, if they've passed already, let their family know. So every day on Groundhog Day, we do a lunch for the guy in the middle, Chris Paulus. He died on Christmas Day a few years ago, but on Groundhog Day, that's his birthday. So we get together with his family, his children, who are older than me, and his wife, his widow, and we get to hang out with them and talk about them, and talk about Chris and his influence on me. I'm so thankful for Chris Polis's influence in my life. I don't have a career without him. And so I hope that you'll consider doing that. According to Jeff Civilico, this gap serves as both a cultural mission and a significant opportunity. We've glamorized influence as a stage, a spotlight, or a platform, said Civilico, but influence is often a conversation, a gesture, a choice, a moment. When people realize how often they create these moments, they show up differently in the world. If you go back to our past episodes, you'll hear many of my examples of how we can do this as a dad, as a parent, as a leader in the workplace, and this is the promise. So, my friends, there's lots more to this study. We don't have all the time in the world today to talk about it only because there's so many subjects and topics we're going to hit today. But I have found this so incredibly true that when we give other people our time, when we give them of our attention, when we're actively listening, it makes all the difference in the world. And so, to download the full research report or learn more about Jeff's work as a keynote speaker and host personality, because he's an entertainer as well as one of the greatest keynote speakers you'll ever hear. And he's probably considered the top master of ceremonies or MC of every event you can have. Jeff Civilico is a legend. He's in the Speaker Hall of Fame, CPAE. He is amazing. You can go to everydayinfluencer.com/research. Yes, everydayinfluencer.com/research, or go to jeffcivilico.com. I just hope that you'll take a minute to download this report. It's astounding. It fits perfectly with the promise. So the question I have for you is, how are you working to become an everyday influencer?
My phone just suggested 3 meaningful texts to send my fiance today. It feels efficient, but it's definitely cheating.
That's the trap. Efficiency is for machines. Presence is for humans. You can't automate a kept promise.
I'm trying to optimize my life, but I'm losing the real connection. Who are we when the signal drops?
That's where character lives. It isn't about the data points. It's the choice you make in the quiet.
Our integrity is leaking while we chase a perfect performance. Jason, how do we start leading for the soul?
Well, my friends, that's a great question. We're living in the most optimized era in human history, aren't we? I mean, it's February 2026. Right now, an algorithm can't, well, it can write your emails and it can curate your workout. It can even simulate a conversation with your spouse if you're too tired to talk. We've become obsessed with performance. We want the output to be perfect. We want the hustle to look effortless. But here's the cold, hard truth. You cannot algorithm character. An AI can mimic your voice. It can tell my jokes if I want it to, but it cannot keep a promise to my daughter when I'm exhausted. It can't feel the weight of a handshake. It doesn't have the internal valve, the character, if you will, to do the right thing when the power goes out and no one's watching the feed. In a world of artificial perfection, your greatest competitive advantage isn't being faster or smarter. It's being real. It's bringing it back to the heart. It's the grit, the mistakes, the unwavering integrity that piece of code can't replicate. So today we stop performing for the algorithm, start leading with the soul. And what I love about this is today I'm looking in the feed as I'm talking to you, I'm looking in the feed and people are saying, hey, you know what? I see Michelle, my man Michelle. He says, I need to send a lot of emails to thank those who's inspired me. You know what? You want to write those emails instead of having like an AI do it, right? But a lot of people might turn to that. Don't do it. Write the email. First, I have to thank you for being an example to me. I thank you, Michelle. It's good to see you, brother. And I love you, man. It's wonderful you're here. Kindness rising. They say, don't wait. Time is a thief. That is so right. And the best way we can do this is through kindness. I truly believe it. So thank you for sharing. And as you comment, if I can see it, if I can spot it, I will share it and talk about it because I appreciate it. The optimization trap is this. We're so busy optimizing our schedules, we neglected our soul. Efficiency is for machines, presence is for humans. And performance versus presence is interesting because I'm a performer. We're based on performance. Everybody makes a living based upon performance, but an algorithm is a performance based on past data. Character is a choice made in the present moment, often when it's inconvenient. And I might even argue with what I just said. I'll even say the choice is made long before you need to choose in that moment. For example, I don't drink, but lots of people offer me opportunities to drink something. And that's easy to turn it away in front of them because it's like, oh, they usually figure out that I'm not going to drink, right? But then how about this one? It ends up that there's in my hotel room when I go speak and perform around the country or the world, There's a gift in my room from the client, usually on the bed, in a beautiful basket all wrapped up with the cellophane and a bow. And it says, "We're so happy to have you." And I'm like, "I know." And then I walk into my hotel room and there it is, staring me in the face. A basket of champagne, usually a couple glasses, and usually some strawberry chocolate, dip, whatever. And it's like, well, okay, what am I going to do now, right? So the client who hired me to speak doesn't realize I don't partake in this. So what do I do in the darkness of a hotel room? I mean, the champagne's sitting there for me. No one would know. I mean, I could pop that open and drink away and it'd just be my own silent little treat. Okay. But, I'm the only one who would know. But I've already made the choice a long time ago. So it's not really a choice anymore. It's just me keeping a promise, right? In what ways are you doing this same type of thing? In what ways are you saying to yourself, you know what? Character is a choice that I can make either a long time ago or right now in order to be present in the moment, even if it's inconvenient, even if and when keeping the promise might mean I'm the only one that knows. So how about the ethics of the quiet room? Who are you when the Wi-Fi is down? Do you remember the movie Truman Show? When it's over, when he leaves the Truman Show and then it just goes to a blank screen, everybody's like, "Oh, well, okay." And then they like pick up a book because they don't know what to do now the show's over. So what do you do when the Wi-Fi is down? Pick up a book? Are you working on something? Are you playing with your kids? Your character is defined by the decisions you make when there's no audience to like, share, or subscribe. So when it comes to real leadership, it often requires the friction of human interaction. Trust is not a data point. You can't calculate trust. You earn it through the power of the promise, doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you said it in has left you. You know what I'm talking about, right? Have you ever set your alarm for like, I'm going to work up at 4 a.m. Yeah, I'm going to go pump some iron. And then, yeah, that was that decision you made that night before. What happens when the alarm clock goes off now? You're like, I think I can sleep a little longer. Dang it. What about the promise you made the night before? The power of the promise is a real thing. It's got to last long after the mood wears off. And so if your public performance was deleted today, what would be left of your private character? In the last week, what is one promise you kept that no one, not even social media, knows about? We're going to talk about one of those in a little bit about when I talk about my jaw, because that took me a minute to let everybody know. But where are you performing for others instead of providing for those who rely on you? If your children grew up to your exact level of integrity, what would be a win for the world? As we wrap up this segment, my friends, remember, you can't algorithm character.
Wow, breaking news. A prince getting arrested on his 66th birthday? It's like a movie script, but the ending is real.
Titles don't stop the truth, Phil. We spend years polishing the performance, but the universe eventually sends the bill for the foundation.
I'm thinking about that 30-room mansion. Why do we fight so hard to stay in a royal lodge when the character is gone?
Because ego is a blindfold. It's a tragedy when you reach 66 and realize you've been protecting a brand instead of a soul.
Jason, what's left of our identity when the title's gone? Take us into the anatomy of a downfall.
This one's a little touchy. It's a tricky one for me to talk about today, but I'm going to go there and some of you will not like it. That's just how we're going to go. Today's February 19th. It's, for most people, a 66th birthday is a milestone of reflection. It's a time to look at your legacy that you've built and the family you've raised. I like to think about my 66. That'll be in a minute. And I'm thinking, man, what kind of life do I want to have done since then, right? That's the point. But today, for Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the candles didn't get blown out. Instead, the front door is met by the Valley Police. You've watched this slow motion train wreck for years, my friends, and you saw the title stripped, the royal name removed, the eviction from the Royal Lodge. Man, we watched a man try to perform the role of a prince while character was crumbling underneath the weight of Epstein files. I've never even said these words, you guys, before, but it's a trap, isn't it? I mean, we live in a world that rewards the performance. We want the title, the corner office, the blue checkmark life. We think if we keep the performance polished enough, no one will look at the foundation. But today proves the universe eventually sends a bill for the character we neglected. Yeah, and like I said, I have a hard time talking about this because I don't want to throw stones, But Andrew didn't lose his status today. He lost it years ago when he decided that who he was when no one was watching didn't matter as long as he was still a Duke in public. Come on. Today isn't a day to gloat. In fact, I think this is a bummer thing to talk about. It's a day to audit our own lives in light of this news. Now, since this news broke, I guess he's been released. I mean, people are going to say this is a rumor or whatever. This is actual what happened. But think about it. It's a day to audit your own life. Because if a prince or a former one, with all the resources, lawyers, and bloodlines in the world, can't hide a lack of character, what makes us think we can? Let's talk about the difference between being impressive and being aligned. Now, the birthday irony is what's really interesting to me in this case, because discussing the optics of being arrested on your 66th birthday, oh my gosh, right? I mean, it's a poetic, albeit tragic, reminder that time doesn't heal a lack of integrity, it only exposes it. And one thing that hits me with this thought, imagine throwing a birthday party and only certain people show up. I mean, not all the people you expected or wanted. Who shows up in that moment? Who are the people you want in the room? This is certainly a take for us to consider on what we're doing in the overall arch of our lives. It's accumulation of our reputation. It's the gathering of the people and the goodness that we do throughout our lives that might show up for that birthday party. So who do you want at your 66th birthday? Depends on what you do today. Performance versus reality is this. Andrew spent years performing, quote unquote, the role of a trade envoy. And yeah, I mean, these things are brutal, right? The allegation now is that he used the performance to shield the exchange of sensitive documents. So the Royal Lodge mentality is, even as the walls closed in, he fought to stay in his 30-room mansion. This is the hallmark of image-first leadership, valuing the seat more than the service. So what do we do with all this, my friends? The 30 to 55 age group often feels established or untouchable in their careers. Andrew is the ultimate proof that no one's above the law, especially the law of consequences. I mean, maybe there's a scapegoat situation going on here. I don't know, but I can just say that I know, as I am in the demographic of getting to the doorstep of my 60s, I want to know who's going to be in the room when I show up, because I want to be that kind of person that says, you know what? I lived a good life. The foundation is stable. And how can we make sure that we do that in our own world? And so as we wrap up this segment, just a quick one about this current news and a little trend jacking, if you will, to talk about something that's currently happening. The birthday legacy is this. If you were standing at your 66th birthday today, would you be celebrating the character you have built or fearing the secrets you've kept?
I've been watching these Olympic highlights from Italy. It's tempting to think I'll need to be a world-class coach for my kids one day.
You're overthinking it, Phil. Most kids don't need another coach. They're starving for a first supporter instead.
I don't want to ruin the car ride home before I've even started. What's the difference between a coach and a consultant? A coach manages the performance. A supporter holds the coat while they chase the gold. It's about being a safe place. Jason, take us into the stands. How do we make sure the car ride home is the safest place on earth?
I love that question, and let's go right into it. Right now in the Italian Alps, in the Olympics, an athlete named Stevenson Savard is making history as the first ever Haitian cross-country skier. Yes, Haiti snows very infrequently. So the cameras are on him. The world is watching the performance, but if you pan the camera way back, past the finish line, past the coaches, into the cold, quiet stands, you'll find a man named Terry. Terry is Stevenson's father. And 20 years ago, he didn't see an Olympian. He saw a 3-year-old boy who needed a home and a ride to the mountains. It's a cool story about adoption and love and family, but for 2 decades, Terry wasn't the coach shouting from the sidelines. He was the first supporter. He was the one who drove the car in the dark, paid for the skis when things were tight, offered a shoulder when the races are lost. Most of us in the room are tired. We're exhausted by the performance of parenting, and we think we have to be the coach, the manager, and the scout. The truth is, your kids don't want another coach. They don't need another coach. The world will provide plenty of coaches. They need a first supporter. They need to know that even if they finish last, the car ride home is the safest place on earth. It's important to me to talk about the car ride home because have you been there? I mean, as a kid, as the parent, both are tricky. As a parent, you want to deconstruct the performance of the kid and help them right away to help them right what didn't go well. You want to celebrate the good, but usually you need to talk about, okay, well, you missed that one part of the play, or you didn't do this correctly, or you should have stood this way, or you should have jumped higher. But do you remember being the kid with the parent like that? It felt like an attack. I mean, as a kid, I used to sit, I just needed to hear that I wasn't terrible. I mean, my dad used to give me this percentage thing of how well I did. And I'm not throwing my dad under the bus because I do the same thing too to my kid. That's why I'm talking about this. This like opened my mind to how I can be a better dad. But the thing is like, man, it hurt, right? My dad felt it was quote unquote coaching. Whereas to me as a kid, it was, son, you're not good enough. And I'm like, I know, I wish you would tell me I'm okay. And he's like, it was a 77% effort. Guys, I'm guilty of this too. So that's why I'm laughing about it, because it's like tragedy is comedy. Yeah. I find myself critiquing my sons once they're in the car. I mean, now if they had a killer game, that's one thing. That's like, oh my gosh, you scored. You never score. You scored finally. Let's go celebrate. Let's go get a 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, right? But it's not always a killer game. So then we have to talk through what happened, right? Now we have to like really dig in. How can you improve? How can you be the star next time? How can you win? No, it's okay to just ask how they feel. What do they want to talk about? Even just listen to some music as you drive. It's just a thought, but it is an important one. I promise to be better at this with my son, who's still participating in sports. He's in middle school. I think about all the times of the older kids in high school now, and who are now not in high school anymore. How many times I critique the performance instead of just being the support in the car that they needed to make the drive home safe. And so dads, mostly I'm talking to dads, because moms are pretty good about not doing this. Dads are looking to help their kid get to the next level and be a coach always and a mentor. I get it. But let's remember how it felt to be the kid that was so critiqued by the dad. And things, as I've figured out how to do this better, things have changed for me as a parent. And not when I set a goal to become a better dad, but when I made a promise to be the kind of dad any kid would want to have.
Most guys retire the daddy dinosaur bit when they hit 40. Phil, have you seen what Jason's doing to his jaw lately? I heard it pop from the back of the room. He's clicking it back into place like it's part of the choreography.
That's the price of the promise.
He's survived 20 shows since that accident.
You don't get to quit being the Raptor just because your gift feels broken.
I'm sitting here wondering if I'd even show up for work with a toothache.
Character doesn't need a loud voice to lead. Take us into the variety house. How do we keep the promise when it hurts to speak?
That's a cool setup. Yeah. I'll tell you, I love the fact that these guys, these AI dudes, are coming up with some cool questions as we lead into the next segment. And, I do make a living opening my mouth to speak, to make people laugh, to sing at the top of my lungs. And this unique attribute of opening my mouth extra wide has become so prevalent in my presentations, it's known as my signature move. And even, well, it was once the cover of my book. Do you want to see it? Although this was a very terrible choice and has mostly disappeared from the face of the earth, thank goodness. This is the actual book. That was the cover of my book. What am I thinking? Nobody wants this on their table. My dentist can use both hands. That's as big as I can open it now. This is what I used to look like. Hey, everybody, guess what? All right. So if you find one of these, it's a collector's item, but it's also embarrassing. All right. If you find a copy, just know it's a rare thing. And on December 2nd, 2025, today is February 19th, 2026. It's been 2.5 months. December 2nd, 2025, I was asked to speak to a group of young folks by a very successful friend of mine. I haven't spoken to youth in a while. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but mostly because the style of entertainment I do is so foreign to their TikTok attention spans. It's tough to feel like it's connecting. Well, truth be told, they loved it more than I expected. They were all in with me. I was singing, making them laugh. They were taking notes about the promise and signature moves the whole time. I was thinking, wow, maybe I can connect with youth as a speaker still. And then I did the raptor as Daddy Dinosaur. There's the picture of me. And I opened my mouth really wide when I do this. I went all in as per usual. And opening my mouth as I always do, suddenly I felt a pop and a searing pain. I actually heard a high-pitched tone in my ear like you would if you heard a really loud sound. And I felt the pain in my jaw I haven't felt since my youth when I was too ambitious after a dare among friends to see if I could fit an apple in my mouth. And I did, by the way. LOL. In that moment, though, as a 47-year-old man, I didn't let the audience realize what happened. I clicked my jaw back into place. Like I went, with my hands. And they laughed. They thought it was just part of the bit. I eventually wrapped up the performance, took photos, signed books. I signed this book because Promise to the One is the book that we sell now. And so I signed some books, pictures. And then I ran to my car. I sat in both writhing agony from the pain and in shock, asking myself, okay, what am I going to do now? I mean, I have another show tomorrow night. I was looking in the rearview mirror in the darkness, lit only by a street light. I couldn't even open my mouth wide enough to bite my own knuckle. Driving home, everything hurt, you guys. Chewing gum, talking, drinking water, everything. I told my wife when I got home and she asked, what are you going to do? I had no answers. So next morning, I scheduled an emergency, very expensive appointment with an oral surgeon, ear, nose, and throat guy who took x-rays and said it was like a TMJ guy, I guess. That's what the TMJ doc, he said, yeah, you certainly tore your jaw. Do all you can to not open your mouth for a few months, and it'll be at least 6 months until you'll feel back to normal. What? 6 months? Don't open your mouth for a few months. Dang. Have you ever lost something you really needed, like being able to open your mouth? Now, I have friends who are speakers who've gone through far tougher challenges. I mean, be it now, they are in a wheelchair, fighting cancer, or have lived to tell the tale being paralyzed by brain surgery. I mean, everything for them changed. So this is not a comparison. This is just, there's this far greater challenge in mind. But for me, not opening my mouth is the equivalent of Michael Jordan being told he can no longer dunk a basketball in the prime of his career, or Michael Jackson not being allowed to do the moonwalk because he'll tear his Achilles. Like, then the next night I did the show and it hurt like nobody's business. I was in so much pain. Every time I'd sing, I'd be like, hey, thank you. And then I'd turn and go, oh, that was so bad. I didn't tell a soul. I just did the gig. I just did the ending where I usually talk about being a little kid with a big mouth, and my mom influenced me. The dentist told me I had a gift. Now my gift was broken. I couldn't go and open my mouth all the way. You guys know how, if you follow me, you know how big my mouth can be. This is crazy. 2.5 months in. Now my gift is broken, right? I modified a certain home run routine that's garnered standing ovations for decades, still somehow pulled it off. Yet I did the raptor just differently. I was just kind of like, it was just not as like legit over the top fun. Still hurt though. And on December 3rd, 2025, I came off stage and thought about writing a blog post or making a video to tell you and the whole world about what I was going through, to let you know what I was experiencing in real time. Because if you don't tell everybody, it didn't really happen, right? Unless you don't post a selfie, then it's not real. Well, this is another great lesson in keeping the promise. I've now sat with this secret in this situation for 2.5 months. And I've been on stage 20 times since then. And I now do this weekly show, this weekly live stream broadcast on YouTube. The Jason Hewlett Show. Yes, please join us Thursdays at 3 o'clock Mountain Time. And yeah, I've been doing this over and over every single week. December 3rd, 2025, when I came off that stage and it hurt me so much. I've proven to myself that I can do my best even without my gift fully working anymore. And I believe that all of us can do the same. Yeah, it hurts to open my mouth. I can't eat certain foods nor chew with one side of my mouth, and even a musical impression or two need to change. It's pretty wacky. And when I think of this relatively small problem I have, I think of my inspiring friends who are having people lift them into the airplane seat from the wheelchair while going worldwide to speak to audiences and inspire others. My story my story pales in comparison. These guys have made big changes in their life. But they would tell me it's not a competition. We all keep the promise when we keep going and we make adjustments and we shift what's always worked to make the next moment work. So much appreciation goes out to the many clients that have had me speak in the last few months while I have gone through this challenge. They did not know about it, and no one noticed the change in my routine, although I sure did, and I know what is different. Now, what I find interesting is ever since I posted about this a couple of days ago, I've had so many messages from people, and it's very kind of them. They're like, I'm so sorry you tore your jaw. I'm so sad you can't perform anymore. I don't know at what point they stopped reading this article or listening to this story, but like, I'm still doing this show. I'm still showing up. They missed, like, most people didn't read past the first line. I tore my jaw. They're like, oh, he's screwed. Oh, no, I'm fine. But when it comes to adjusting, modifying, or shifting your performance, whether due to an accident, challenge, or just to change things up for yourself, how are you sharing your gifts? Despite the shifts that others may notice but are potentially painful for you. That is how you keep the promise. That's how you keep doing the raptor, even with the torn jaw. And the question is, as I wrap this up, what is your promise even when your signature move is taken away?
We're obsessed with the leadership brand in the mirror, but the most dangerous failure is the one you can't see.
It's Heart Valve Day. We track miles and PRs, but we often ignore the plumbing that keeps the whole system moving.
A healthy valve ensures one-way flow. Integrity's the same. If your inside doesn't match your outside, you're leaking.
Those leaks are what cause the exhaustion. We're training to be useful for a lifetime, not just look fit for a season.
Jason, how do we audit the valves before the pressure of life hits 100? Let's start the checkup.
Let's audit the valves. I agree. Let's talk about it. And equally, I want to acknowledge in the comments, I'm seeing some people that are with me. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you if you're listening or watching the replay. This is what it's about. It's a show about lots of F words: family, faith, freedom, fitness. We're going to talk about health right now because in that sense, it's an important piece to me because, yeah, I want you to know that every single day I'm working on something within the health space. And I have to say thanks to my man, Steve. Steve Goetz writes, dude, I talk with you almost every day. I'm amazed that you've lived with this injury without complaining or even telling anyone about it. Amazing example of doing all you can to keep the promise. Incredible. Thanks, Steve. I mean, I didn't want to tell everybody. I just thought it was crazy to go through it. And I also have to say thanks very much to my friend Randy from Kindness Rising. I think that's who we've got with or no, maybe, I don't know if that's Randy or if it's somebody else, but I have to appreciate, it says, killing it, buddy, got to run. Impressive watching you with your unique style on this platform. That's cool. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's my friend Jesse or my friend Randy, but thank you for your kindness in that sense. When I don't see a name, I don't know exactly, but here's what I want to say as we wrap this up today. The internal valve. Today is February 19th, 2026. For the fitness world, it's just another Thursday to hit the gym. But in the medical world, did you know it's Heart Valve Disease Awareness Day? Yeah. I mean, to me and Cardio Miracle, this is a big day. Now, we spend a lot of time in our 30s, 40s, and 50s obsessed with the performance of our health. We track the miles, we count the calories, we check the mirror to see if the leadership brand looks fit. Hey. Oh, yeah. Okay, but our heart valve is different. You can't see it. Doesn't show up in a bicep peak or a finish line photo. It's a tiny silent flap of tissue that ensures the blood flows in the right direction. I mean, I talk about blood flow all the time. If you know that I work with Cardio Miracle, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Nitric oxide, making sure blood is flowing properly and elastically in your body. It allows for your body and your cells to expand and to be a little bit more able to push the blood through. Well, we're talking about the valve itself right now. So if that valve leaks in your heart, just even a little bit, the whole system starts to fail. It's just one little valve. You get tired, you lose your breath. You can't show up for your family. Maybe breathe for a second with me. Our character is the heart valve of our lives. We can perform all day long. We can say the right things and look the part. But if we have internal leaks in our integrity, we'll eventually run out of gas. You can't cardio your way out of a character deficit. Today, we aren't training for the mirror. We're checking the valves because a leader with a leaky heart can't go the distance. So the silent symptoms would be heart valve disease is often silent until it's serious, right? Usually you don't notice anything's broken until it affects you in some way. Character flaws are the same. They don't scream, they whisper through small broken promises. So I've noticed this lately, mostly between sleep, sauna, and missed workouts. It's a slow leak. Once you just say to yourself, let's say you're like, I'm not eating any sugar at all this year. And then you just sneak a little bite. Oh boy. Now you're eating a whole bag of potato chips and you're dipping your face in the chocolate fountain, right? So it's a slow burn. It's a slow leak. Performance versus plumbing. You know, you can have the strongest muscles in the world, but if the plumbing or the valve fails, the muscles won't matter. Your performance is useless without character. And so think about all the little things that are adding up to make it so that your body's healthy, so that you feel great. And think about the pressure test. The valves only fail when the pressure gets high. So think about that in the sense of how much stress you're putting yourself through, whether the challenges of your day, the things that you're fighting right now. Your heart very well could be having some extra stress on it. And how does your integrity hold up as well when your business or your family life gets high pressure? That's where the leaky valves show up. That's where the little flap needs to be looked at, adjusted, and fixed. So a healthy valve ensures one-way flow, and integrity ensures your inside matches your outside. If there's a backflow of hypocrisy, let's say, you lose efficiency as a leader. So keeping your body in a certain level, the promise to your body, it's like keeping your word to yourself. Because what I found is if I cheat a little bit here or there on my snacking or treats, or I'm going to go eat something naughty and I'm going to miss a workout here or there, or I'm not going to take a walk, or I'm not going to hit the sun, I'm not going to sleep 8 hours, man, it just starts to add up and your body shows it. So keeping your word to yourself about your health is the foundation for keeping your word to everyone else. And so today, as I thank my sponsor of the show, it is Cardio Miracle. If you've heard of it, it creates nitric oxide in your body. There's no nitric oxide in here. What there is, however, is it's got L-arginine and L-citrulline. And what it does within your body is it gives you the ability to have just a little bit more health and a little bit more wealth to your happiness. And it's just a simple drink. You just mix it up in your water. Tastes great. Put it in your water, change your life, allow your blood flow to go in the best flow that you've ever had, because it relaxes the blood vessels. It allows for everything to go into the oxygenation of your brain. It helps with, I haven't talked to a guy today who's a surgeon. He takes it because he had major headaches when he traveled to Africa. Now he takes Cardio Miracle, which he also sells to his clients because he thinks it's great. Now he doesn't have the headaches anymore. Why? Because it goes in and cleans out the inflammation. It reaches the microcapillaries that your blood sometimes can't once you cross 40 years old. And so if you're over 40, or if you know somebody that's gone through some surgery, they need some better blood flow. Maybe you know someone with neuropathy or diabetes or some of these other challenges, cardiovascular disease. Give them some Cardio Miracle. Maybe it can help them. I believe that it will, and I hope that you'll check it out. If you want to go to this code, this is my special code that you can get a percentage off. You can try it out, see if you like it. Maybe take a screenshot of that or grab it with your phone. For those that are listening, it's cardiomiracle.com. Go check it out. And thank you so much for being here today with me. We appreciate that you join us on the Jason Hewlett Show, and I will see you next week.
Do 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 do.